was loud. GM, DuneCon, Bangkok, Sawadika. Okay, so I'm going to start off by quoting a motivational speaker called Jim Rohn. He famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Okay, so who am I? I'm a data engineer, a data scientist. I'm a baseball fan. I have 2 cats. I used to work for Binance, and I'm a Dune on-chain analyst. Okay, clearly I'm not those things. I'm definitely not a baseball fan. That's Michael Silverling. Okay. I am actually talking about my data team because I do spend the most time with them, which is really, really unfortunate, but also fortunate. Okay, so let's talk about myself again. My name is Lizzy Wong, and I'm the head of data at OP Labs. And I do have some of my team here today. Michael Silverling, Chushin, they are Dune Maxis, and then we have Bella and Dennis. All right. Okay, that's enough. They're literally being paid to be here, so you don't have to applaud them too much. Okay, so I'm going to talk about building a Superchain data team, and I will talk about the Superchain in a second. OP Labs is a key contributor to Optimism, and Optimism is the Superchain. So what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about how big the Superchain is today, and then I'm going to talk about mostly why do we invest in a data team and what is the value of data. I don't think I need to convince anybody here that data is valuable because we're at a DuneCon conference, but I will dwell on data strategy, data leadership, and how to build a data team. And then I'll round off with the future of the Superchain. Okay, so Optimism. Optimism is the Superchain. We started off as being a single chain, and we had the goal of scaling Ethereum's technology and beliefs. We still have that goal. We still believe in Ethereum, but we're now multi-chain. We are the Superchain. We are building a network of blockchains. And you're going to see a lot of familiar chains that have already launched. We started with OP Mainnet, and now we have Coinbase's Base, we have World, we have Zora, we have Mode. We are about to launch with Unichain by Uniswap, Ink by Kraken, and Sonium by Sony. We are all built on the OP stack, which is open source. So in this new multi-chain, superchain world, data is becoming more immense. We started off with 1 chain. We now have upwards of 20 and growing. Okay, so what does it mean? How big is the Superchain today? All right, so obviously charts. Everything is going upwards and to the right. We do need to start off with what happened to L2s in 2024. And we all know about 4844, DuneCon upgrade. We reduced fees significantly because of blobs. In March 2024, we see a significant increase in transactions. And if you look at the Superchain, in the last month that we have fully, we had 7.6 million daily transactions. That's a lot of data. Okay, let's decompose that. Base and DeFi are really leading the demand here within the Superchain. Base is like over 6 million, honestly, nearly 7 million daily transactions at the moment. And its usage is led by Uniswap, and its TVL growth is driven by Airdrome. Everything, again, upwards and to the right. We like to see it. Okay, lots of demand. What's happening with the supply? So another thing that happened, demand for base block space continues to outpace gas supply. As soon as 4844 hit, the demand hit Base's gas target. So Base has been increasing their gas targets ever since. We started off with 2.5 million gas per second, and now we're at 15 million gas per second. What we're seeing here is that there is so much demand for block space right now. We want cheaper, faster transactions. Okay, so what does the future hold? Blobs and increased gas targets have reduced fees, but we are at blob congestion right now. So we will have increased fees on the L1. And so what does that mean for us? Okay, let's take it back to data team. What I just talked about then was the story of the Superchain using data, and that's what the data team does. we have a Superchain health scorecard, which aligns the entire collective. So if you think about all of these decentralized chain operators, Unichain and Base and Sony, we all have to drum to the same beat. So we've created a Superchain health scorecard. I'm not going to go into the depths of it, but part of the job of our team is to be able to have those North Star metrics so that the entire collective can be in sync. So why invest in a data team? We believe that open source data capabilities and intelligence can serve as a strategic asset for block space. We are now in a multi-chain world. We believe that every chain you add increases network effects, and we think that data does the same thing. So you have the flywheel. We start off with open data. Data as a public good allows us to storytell for the ecosystem and build transparency and trust. We need trust in the data. We know that there are a lot of false flags in crypto data, so we need to build trust. The open data turns into intelligence, and we're talking about intelligence for decision-making, intelligence for how we think about growth across the superchain, and then that in turn turns into community, and we build a community around data to accelerate network intelligence. And then ultimately, we want to build data products that allow us to measure and reward impact and fuel ecosystem growth. Imagine a world where retro funding is really run by impact metrics alone with little human intervention. There is a world where being a decentralized ecosystem can really be fueled by data. Okay, so that's our mission. Empower the ecosystem with trusted, community-driven intelligence. So I want to talk about data leadership now. I know that a lot of us are data practitioners, but sometimes you need to change the lens as you start to build a team and as you start thinking about a roadmap. So it's about data leadership, not just a data function. And what do I mean by that? We seek to understand the business, not just serve the business. I think that a lot of data teams are seen as cost centers, but actually we are a profit center, not a cost center. You have to just change the way you think, especially then the way that we're thinking about data products and data tooling. We need to be thinking about ROI always for the team. Build a high-performing team and then empower them and advocate for them. Invest in scalable, efficient data infrastructure. So that doesn't mean over-engineering data infrastructure. I think that a lot of teams, they've got Snowflake, they've got BigQuery, they've got so, I mean, you have to actually create, adopt the tooling that is good for your use cases. Be customer obsessed by building tooling and products. We have a bunch of customers, and I'm not just talking about internal stakeholders. So it's the growth team, the product team, but it's also chain operators, application developers, and users ultimately. So we need to be able to have a feedback loop so that we're always understanding the signals of our users. Last 2 points. Build a data vision and strategy, and then execute on a data roadmap prioritized by cost benefit. So I'm going to double click into the last couple of points about data vision and strategy and also data road mapping. You want to build a data strategy built on trust. If you want to serve the business, then you need to start building trust with the business. So data capabilities must be thoughtfully scaled with a data strategy built on trust. And I put this into 4 pillars. So you can build trust by creating scalable infrastructure and then having a source of truth. I think canonical documents and being able to standardize metrics when you have so many different chains, and I mean, even today when we're talking about what is a transaction and understanding what real economic activity is, so being the source of truth and having that data quality is key to building trust. Seek truth. We are truth seekers at the end of the day. We are the objective voice of the business. We are storytellers of the business. We need to understand drivers and levers. We need to understand the developer funnel and North Star metrics, and then causality ultimately. Have impact. I alluded to this before, but we do need ROI in everything that we do. Data is expensive. So every step of the way when we're thinking about investing in data, we need to think about, are we helping innovation? Are we helping with growth strategies? Do we understand the ROI of our campaigns? how are we informing strategic decisions, and how informing product build. We are embedded in the product development process because we need to understand every step of the way how to measure things, because you can't measure things, you can't move things that you can't measure. So as an example, as we're thinking about interoperability, we've been spending hours, or Trushin has been spending hours, understanding how to measure that, understanding how to measure the total addressable market for it, and then once we launch it, we would have already spent 6 months understanding how to measure that product build. The last thing which Dune is really, really good at is fostering community. So we believe in open source. We believe in supporting the entire ecosystem. So we're very connected to all of the data teams within the Superchain, and then we believe in data tooling and rewarding impact. All right. So I can talk about this all day. If anyone wants to talk about building data teams, you can come find me after, or find me on socials. I love my team. So a high-performing, multidisciplinary data team should have cognitive diversity and psychological safety. A lot of research has been done around this very topic, but being able to feel safe, being able to show up as your authentic self, being able to challenge each other's biases is what makes our team stronger. We are extremely diverse in where we come from and our skill sets, but we really believe in being able to cultivate a diverse and safe environment for us to work. So we have 4 different disciplines within the team: data engineering, which is self-explanatory; ecosystem intelligence. I see these people as the very front line of the ecosystem, really understanding the business. In maybe a Web 2 world, we would call it business intelligence, but really understanding those dynamics across the ecosystem. Developer insights, so really understanding from like a research perspective, the psychographics and everything about a developer so that we can understand the funnel. And then data science and machine learning. We look at a breadth of different skills: technical skills, business acumen, all of those things that we want in a team, but ultimately we want to be collaborative and for us to feel safe and happy to work together. Okay, so the future of the Superchain, what does it look like? Again, as I said, and I think I just stole my own thunder, was we spend a lot of time thinking about the future and the roadmap. And that's not just our product roadmap, but understanding our data roadmap and how it feeds into the product roadmap and how we are planning on measuring things. So what's happening in 2025? Unichain is launching very imminently, and they will have faster block times. Ink will launch, Sonium will launch, and then the big thing that we're working on is interop. And being able to understand cross-chain what is happening in our ecosystem is very important so that we can understand product market fit and so that we can understand what to build. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. Is my mic on? Okay. Smooth transition. Okay. I will take questions if you guys have any. Give me some softballs. That was a baseball reference just for you, Michael. Yeah.
Hi, Lizzy. Good to see you, all the way from New York. How do you think about tracking stablecoin metrics and activity across the superchains?
That is a really good question. We know each other. Artemis is a very good source of stablecoins. He's from Artemis. No, so we are really intent on understanding cross-chain asset transfers. We are really intent in that entire space of understanding opportunities within kind of growth around TVL and liquidity, because in the world of interop, there is shared liquidity. So as we're gearing up towards interop, being able to understand what levers we can pull around liquidity is extremely paramount. So, as you mentioned, stablecoins is one of those channels in which we would be able to get TVL. And yes, Artemis is a very good source of stablecoin data. Any other questions?
Hi. Hi, here. Alice from SAFE. I'm a data analyst there. I would say, since I joined SAFE, the maturity of the industry has grown, and their maturity in wanting more data, understanding data, and knowing how that can drive product development and the business in general has grown. How do you help your team prioritize so that they stay ultra-focused on really having high impact and getting rid of the noise that's just like, oh, we're curious about this and that and that? Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely an industry where there is the next big shiny thing, and it is hard to like stay focused. So we do a couple of things. We do, actually, we recently just did planning across the collective, and that includes product, it includes engineering, it includes marketing, it includes growth. And when we think about how the company and the roadmap is, and 2025, that's when we start to understand our own priorities. And so everything that we do has to ladder up to the company priorities. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is like balancing complexity with criticality. So there's a bunch of different things that we just have to do to keep the lights on, but then there are, trade-offs when you think about, should we be measuring interop? Oh, yeah, it's the biggest priority of the business. Yes, we should. But then should we be doing segmentation on Unichain? Oh, they already have a data team, so maybe we don't need to do that. Everything at the end of the day is trade-offs and ROI, and being able to understand how much effort are you putting in, and then how much impact and ROI are you getting back. And sometimes we're not the right people for the job. So when we think about the community, which I mentioned before, being able to leverage the ecosystem and the community of data practitioners that we have who are very, very talented to fill the gaps is a lever that we can pull. Buying versus building is a lever we can pull. So there's like a whole bunch of different kind of variables that go into decision making on what we choose to prioritize. I hope that answered your question. It was like 3 different answers.
Question here.
Hi. While trying to go from, while tracking KPIs, do you try to go from active addresses to active users? And if so, could you talk about any methodologies there?
So we don't really believe in active addresses. We believe, when we look at economic activity, we do look at addresses, but we believe that there is a bunch of filters that need to happen in order for us to get down to what behaviors we actually want to incentivize. Obviously, there's a lot of Sybils and there's like a lot of airdrop farming and stuff like that. So it's a work in progress for like addresses, but we look at transactions, we put filters on those as well in order to understand like true kind of product market fit and economic activity. But it sounds like Dune's coming out with a new product where we can just like do that with Snap's fingers, so maybe we'll use that. But yeah, when it comes to metrics, I think we need to remember that we actually want outcomes, not numbers. And I think a lot of the time we get caught up with numbers, and they're so imperfect, especially in crypto. So we always take a step back when we're thinking about North Star metrics, and we think about what is the business outcome. Oh, we want to be able to understand how many people are transacting cross-chain. Okay, in order to see if interop is product market fit. Could there be other signals, if we aren't getting the right ones cross-chain and stuff like that? So what I'm trying to say there is, yes, we look at addresses, but I think like anything else, everything is imperfect. So we try to get to the right combination of metrics that can tell us the truth of the matter. I got a thumbs up from Michael. He's a big campaigner of not using active addresses. Okay. I'm keeping an eye on the time as well. I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions when I look at it. Nice ones.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How do you distinguish and separate the needs, when it comes to data analytics between OP mainnet and the Superchain as a whole?
Great question. I think that we've had this conversation a lot, actually, during our meetings, and we haven't always come to a conclusion on it. I think there is so much value behind OP mainnet, even if you think about it as being the ultimate standard configuration of the OP stack. It's our ability to launch features and understand how it's performing at the more granular level, because OP Labs, we build it, and we are the protocol. So there's so much value behind it. There's so much value behind the governance behind OP mainnet as well, and being able to kind of have it be like this gateway of governance to the entire Superchain. I'm not answering your question in a very kind of black and white way, but that is all to say that OP mainnet will always be important to us, I think. But as we are scaling the ecosystem, we do need to be mindful of different chains and different measures of success. As an example, World is about humans. Base is about DeFi. Uni chain will also be about DeFi. We have gaming chains like Redstone. They all have different ideas of what success looks like. So I guess my conclusion, which I didn't really conclude, is they're both important. I won't tell you how much percentage of which they are important, but OP mainnet will always be important, and the Superchain is growing in importance. So I'm going to be very on the fence here, not give 60-40, 80-20, or anything like that. But yeah, we all love our children. They're all the same. It's like asking me to pick favorites. Can't do that. Okay, 2 minutes, one more question. You don't have to, by the way, no pressure. We can gain 2 minutes back. Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Of course.
I wanted to ask, how do you actually check? You just mentioned that different chains are for different purposes. And how do you actually check the interoperability between different chains? Like which chain is most successful? Where the users go? How do you cross-check the dependencies between the chains?
So, if people can hear, Optimism colors, love what you're wearing. Anyway, so how do we check the performance of chains and being different purposes and whatnot? Okay, I'll give you a very honest answer. We haven't figured that out yet. However, there is this idea of a category of chain and a playbook, we believe. Now I'm speaking off the cuff, and maybe I shouldn't be talking. But from a metric standpoint, at least, there should be, I suppose, clusters, and whether it's users, whether it's developers, whether it's chains, but same behavior coming from different chains. So as an example, and this is very, very simplistic, maybe it's all gaming chains. Maybe we look at all the transaction activity of gaming chains. Maybe we look at all kind of chains that are DEXs, as an example. But there is a level of getting down to categorizations and clusters of chains or comparable groups that we're able to then understand baseline what is good and what is bad. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we always strive to do, is think about relative performance, which is why when we look at transactions, we look at market share. Because transactions alone is not going to be able to tell us everything, because the entire market can move. But how are we doing relative to people that are after the same block space as us?
Thank you.
No worries. Okay. I think we're on time. Thanks, guys.